الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على نبينا وحبيبنا وعلى آله وصحبه ومن سار على سبيله إلى يوم الدين ما بعد. Inshallah ta'ala, we are going to discuss matters that break the fast. Inshallah, in preparation for the month of Ramadan. As bi'idhnillah ta'ala, it may start Saturday or it may start Sunday in terms of Siyam. In terms of Taraweeh, it may start Friday or Saturday, inshallah. So of the things that is important for the Muslim is that they're prepared. Naam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala summarizes the usul, the foundations of the muftirat, the things that break your fast, where he says in Surah Al-Baqarah, ayah 187, فَالْآنَ بَاشِرُوهُنَّ وَابْتَغُوا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَكُمْ الْخَيْطُ الْأَبْيَضُ مِنَ الْخَيْطِ الْأَسْوَدِ مِنَ الْفَجْرِ ثُمَّ أَتِمُّوا الصِّيَامَ إِلَى اللَّيْلِ. So he's saying here now you can have intimacy with your wives and seek that which Allah has written for you and eat and drink until the white line appears on the horizon from the dark line, from Fajr, i.e. to show that the Fajr as-Sadiq has entered, the true Fajr has entered. As we know, at the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was two adhans. There was the adhan of Bilal and the adhan of Ibn Maktoum. And this was the one, he was the one who was blind. And of the things that is mentioned, that Bilal, his adhan was tanbihan liqurb al-waqt, or akhir al-waqt al-layl, is that towards the end of the night. The end of the night coming, Fajr soon is approaching, and in the adhan of Ibn Maktoum was that Fajr has entered. That Fajr has entered. And as he was blind, they used to tell him, Al-an, Han al-waqt, now the time has come. And he would make the adhan at that time. So, when it comes to mufsidat al-siyam, in general, there are 7. In general, we mention them in general, and then we mention in detail, and matters that there's difference upon. So in general, the first of them is al-jima', which is intimacy, intercourse. Having sexual intercourse will break the fast. And upon this is a kafara, an expiation. Then you have al-istimna', which is masturbation, that also breaks the fast. Al-akal wa shurb, eating and drinking. As for a person having a wet dream, this does not break their fast, because this is out of your control. La yukallifu Allahu nafsan illa wus'aha. Allah doesn't burden a person beyond their capability. So that a person is not blameworthy for, it does not invalidate their fast. إخراج الدم بالحجامة ونحوها, يعني taking out blood by way of hijama and the likes. هذا فيه خلاف. This is a difference of opinion, and I am more inclined to the opinion that it doesn't break the fast and that it was abrogated, as there's a hadith that mentioned the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ performed hijama whilst he was fasting. But of the balanced things that I've come across regarding Ahlul Ilm in this regard, they mention if a person is weak when they're fasting, and having hijama done will make them more likely to break their fast or struggle to fast, then it's disliked for them to do it. This person shouldn't do it. But as for the person who they know themselves and they have experience getting hijama, and it doesn't impact them, they don't feel weak after and the likes, and there's no harm in them doing hijama whilst fasting. Now, the next matter is al-qay' amdan. Al-qay' amdan, intentionally vomiting, making yourself vomit intentionally. So if we say intentional, that means if you happen to vomit out of your control, it wasn't intentional, then you're not blameworthy. Your fast is still valid. Now, خروج الدم الحيض أو النفاس من المرأة. Also, the woman, her monthly cycle starting or postnatal bleeding, then she can't fast. The fast is invalid. If it happens within that day, she has to make up those days that she couldn't fast. Now, so as for revisiting these matters in detail, the first time we mentioned was al-jima', which was intercourse. And that came then, فَمَنْ جَامَعَ فِي نهار رمضان عامدا مختارا بأن يلتقي الختانان وتغيب الحشفة في أحد السبيلين فقد أفسد صومه. So a person, and this is the worst of the things that break your fast in terms of sin, is intentionally having intercourse. So, and that is that the places of circumcision, they meet. So if the tip of the man's private part disappears within the woman's private part, then his fast is broken. From he enters. Even if he ejaculates or not, it's not about that. The fact that you enter, just entering, even if it's once, has nullified your fast and is a major nullifying of your fast, and you have to do a expiation. عليه التوبة. Also say you have to finish that day fasting, even though it doesn't count for you. القضاء والكفارة. You have to make it up and you have to do the expiation. And this comes from the hadith of Abu Hurairah that I mentioned, رضي الله عنه. جاء رجل إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال هلكت يا رسول الله. قال وما أهلكك؟ قال وقعت على امرأتي في رمضان. قال هل تجد ما تعتق رقبة؟ قال لا. قال فهل تستطيع أن تصوم شهرين متتابعين؟ قال لا. قال فهل تجد ما تطعم 60 مسكينا؟ قال لا. الحديث. والحديث في Bukhari and Muslim. I mentioned that the person said, I've destroyed myself. And the Prophet Muhammad mentioned, what has destroyed you? He said, I fell upon my wife during the day of Ramadan, meaning I had intercourse with my wife in the day of Ramadan. And the Prophet Muhammad he said, do you have a slave that you can free? And he said, no. He said, are you able to fast 2 consecutive months? He said, no. Are you able to feed 60 poor people? He said, no. And the hadith is known, and we've mentioned this hadith previously. So it also goes to show that the kafara is in that order of obligation. Either you free a slave. If you don't have one, then you fast 2 consecutive months. If you're not able to do that, then you feed 60 poor people. And he said, لا تجب كفارة بشيء من المفطرات إلا الجماع. This is the only nullifier of the fast that requires a expiation. As for the second, and that is al-istimna, and that is causing yourself to ejaculate by any way other than intercourse. Now,
you see on the first one, the hadith at the end, he says no again, right?
Yes.
And then he says
Because he was
nothing.
poor, he has nothing.
So is that the same thing for nowadays? If someone is not able to,
Of course, why would it be different?
there wouldn't be any.
نعم. العبرة بعموم اللفظ ليس بخصوص السبب. The point is based on the general wording and not the specific reason. So the ruling is derived based on the wording that is general, not the specific reason. So 60. So if a person is in the same situation as them, then the same rule applies to them. They won't, but you still have to make tawbah. Now, because there's la wujuba inda al-ajaz, there's no obligation with it without the ability. You don't have the ability to do it, so how can you do it? You can't. Now, the evidence that causing yourself to ejaculate by other than intercourse, breaking the fast, is the general hadith that mentions when the siyam comes as an intercessor on Yawm al-Qiyamah. It says, يَتْرُكُ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابُهُ وَشَهْوَتَهُ مِنْ أَجْلِي. It says to Allah, this person has left off their food and their drink and their desires for my sake. So it's not restricted only to intercourse. Any way that would cause you to ejaculate, then that would nullify your fast. However, intercourse is the worst because that will require a expiation. Now, as for a person, let's say and there's no shyness in knowledge, that's why we mention these things in detail. A person starts to masturbate, but then they don't carry on until they finish, until they ejaculate, they stop themselves. Their fast is correct, and they have to make tawbah. Their fast is correct, but they have to make tawbah. Because the point that this is based upon is that if you ejaculate, so ejaculation is what will nullify your fast. As for what is called al-madhi that we mentioned before, which is pre-ejaculation, then that does not break your fast. Al-akl wa-sharab. Al-aklu wa-shurbi, yani eating and drinking. وَمَا فِي مَعْنَاهُمَا, and whatever is in the meaning of them. So what does this mean? Let's say, for example, a person cannot eat, but they have, what's it called? When they inject it into your hand, a drip, and they feed you through that, that breaks your fast. Or if they feed you by a tube, any shape or fashion, that breaks your fast. An injection to give you nutrients or minerals or things that you would gain from food would break your fast. Now, so anything that has the meaning of food and drink. So from this we learn asthma pump doesn't break your fast because it goes directly to your lungs, and whatever may go to your stomach is very, very little, and it's never taken as a means of something for food or drink. Also, eye drops do not break your fast. Also, if you have sinus and you use something to clear your nose, this does not break your fast. Now, so it's whatever is food and drink and has the same meaning as food and drink. Biting one's nails. If you bite your nails and you eat your nail and swallow it, that breaks your fast. But if you bite your nail, spit it out, it does not break your fast. No. But if you take anything via your mouth or via your nose and it goes to your stomach, then this breaks your fast. Someone asked, do we sniff water when making wudu? Yes. You still make istinshaq. But you do it lightly. المبالغة في الوضوء أو الإبلاغ في الوضوء مستحب ولكن ليس في رمضان. Going a bit, emphasizing your wudu is recommended, but not during the month of Ramadan. So you should do it rinsing your mouth and your nose lightly. Now, a person who has to cook and they're cooking for like iftar and stuff, they can taste the food, but not in a way that the food will go to their stomach. If something goes to their stomach from that, go down the throat to the stomach, then that breaks their fast. But to taste it with your tongue, to taste it, is it too hot or is it too salty? La bas. But as for swallowing anything, then that would nullify the fast. Of the things mentioned by Ahl al-Ilm also, some people, they understand about when the adhan is being called, whatever's in your hand, you can finish. Of the things that is mentioned, that is restricted to liquids and not food. That if you had a drink in your hand and the adhan is being called and you've been drinking, you can finish the drink. But it doesn't mean a whole bottle. Like a cup, you can finish that. But as for if you have a plate of food in your hand, you have to stop eating straight away. No. Wallahu a'lam. But again, al-ahwat, that which is safe, the Muslim doesn't take these things lightly. It doesn't take risk to invalidate their fast. No.
You're eating something and the went off, and you finish.
If it's in your mouth already, yes. Now, the basis for what I mentioned about when it comes to wudu, the Prophet Muhammad said, "Balighu fil istinshaqi illa an takuna sa'ima, illa an takuna sa'ima," and he exaggerate a bit the rinsing of the nose when you're making wudu, except if you are a fasting person. If you're fasting, then no, one should not do that. So, again, as we mentioned, that which has the meaning of food and drink, if a person is given blood transfusion nullifies your fast. No.
So you see when you say when the adhan is called, what about like during the adhan being called? So for example,
No. If the adhan is being called, you can't be eating nothing. No.
It is the same.
It's if it's in your hand and then the adhan starts being called, you can finish the drink that's in your hand.
And is it the same with like breaking the fast? So you break it at the start of the adhan.
As soon as the adhan's called, you break it. No. So now, having blood transfusion and the likes, all of this stuff will nullify the fast. Receiving a needle or a drip with nourishing substances which take the place of food and drink, then that is also a nullifier of the fast. As mentioned by Shaykh Uthaymeen rahimahullah, because it has the same purpose of food and drink. Now,
is the ruling of finishing the food only for Ramadan or is generally?
why would it be general?
Okay, I think I heard that if you want to eat and so that you eat the food for good so that.
Yeah, but this is talking about fasting. We're talking about fasting.
Okay, is it
Fasting is specific to, this is all ruling to do with breaking the fast, nothing else. As for the salah, if there's la salah in the hadarat al-ta'am, if your food has been cooked for you and you're hungry and it's prayer time, but that's going to distract you from your khushu', it's better you eat your food. That's actually what is mentioned, not that you can't eat when the adhan is being called for the general salah outside of Ramadan. We're talking about specifically for Fajr to start fasting. Also, as for injections that don't replace food and drink, then they don't break your fast. And they give an example, they say insulin and penicillin, because it's not for the sake of food and drink, then this does not break your fast. But I said on the safe side, it's better that these are taken at night time. As for dialysis, which is cleaning the blood, and substances are added to it such as sugars and salts, then this is considered to be a nullifier of the fast. So if someone does dialysis, it nullifies the fast.
Sheikh, what if you're someone who's got severe diabetes and you have to take insulin throughout the day?
Some things may be required that they don't fast, such as a terminal illness. It's better that they don't fast and they pay a poor person for each day. No. Let me sit down to that. Of the things they mentioned, though, insulin is not an invalidator of the fast. Of the things that is mentioned, حكم الإنسولين غير مفطرة أننا ليست طعاما ولا شرابا ولا في معنى الطعام والشراب والأصل صحة الصوم فلا يحكم بزوال هذا الأصل إلا بدليل لذا فصومها صحيح. Now, but of the things that is mentioned, so the person who has diabetes and they need to take insulin, it doesn't break their fast. It's fine. However, إذا كان يتضرر بالصيام فالأولى أن لا يصوم. If a person is harmed or in danger from fasting, then it's better that they don't fast. They shouldn't fast. No. And as for what I mentioned regarding cupping, then it's a matter of difference, and I'm of the opinion that it doesn't break their fast. But if a person is of the opinion that it does, then they can't do it. If they take the opinion that it breaks the fast, they cannot do hijama. Nor can they do tabarru' bid-dam, any blood donation. None of this. As for a person having a nosebleed, then again, that doesn't invalidate the fast. As for vomiting intentionally, based on the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that it mentions whoever vomits intentionally. Now, man istaqa amdan falyaqdi. Whoever vomits intentionally, then let them make up the fast. Meaning that it invalidates the fast. وهذا صححه شيخ الباني وهو من صحيح الترمذي. Now, if a person happens to, it says, من ضرعه القيء فليس عليه قضاء. If he's overcome by vomiting, and he's not by choice, it just happens to happen to him, then he doesn't have to make it up. And that's what we mentioned when it came to the menses and postnatal bleeding. And هذا مبني على النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قول أليس إذا حاضت لم تصلي ولم تصوم. Is it not that when she is on her cycle, she doesn't pray, nor does she fast? As for other things that I mentioned, can we use toothpaste after? Yes, you can, as long as nothing goes down your throat. You can use toothpaste to brush your teeth whilst you're fasting, it's fine. You can use the miswak, as we mentioned before, that's fine. So other things that is mentioned that do not invalidate your fast is eye drops, ear drops, tooth extraction, your teeth being taken out. Those things do not invalidate your fast. If you have tablets that are placed under the tongue to treat asthma attacks and the likes, as long as you don't swallow anything, this does not break the fast. Medical instruments or medical procedures in a woman's private area does not break the fast. If a dye or something is injected into you for the purpose of x-rays and the likes, this does not break the fast. Fillings and the likes, as long as nothing is swallowed that reaches the throat, nothing of that breaks the fast. Rinsing the mouth, gargling, all of these things, as long as nothing is swallowed, does not break the fast. Oxygen or anesthetic gases, as long as it does not give the patient any kind of nourishment. So if a person has a form of pump, but it gives them nourishment, then this will break the fast. Endoscopy doesn't break the fast. Why? Because there's no food at all. It's a camera. So this does not break the fast. Anything that enters the body by absorption through skin, such as creams and the likes, does not break the fast. Things that are inserted by a fine tube to the veins for a treatment of veins of the heart and the likes does not break the fast. The only thing when it comes to the endoscopy is if it has solutions or substances on it, then it will break the fast. If there's any solutions or stuff added on it, then that would break the fast. So these are the main things that are mentioned that one is to be cautious of when it comes to ensuring they stay away from that which will nullify their siyam. So you have matters that are known, the 7 main things that we know, and then we have those things that we have mentioned that are related to that. Okay. Now, when it comes to a person being sick during Ramadan, one thing that we have to clarify when it comes to sickness, the sickness that permits you to break your fast and make it up in days later is sickness that if you fast, it will make it worse for you. It will make your sickness worse, or it will delay the cure. Now, so sickness that if you are to fast, it causes you more harm, it makes your situation worse, or it delays the cure. As for like a cold and the likes, and this is not a legitimate reason to what? To break your fast. As for a headache, and we're talking about whenever you fast, it is normal that in the first few days you may get a headache. The headache that would be permissible for a person to break their fast is severe migraines, where they're not able to function. And if they fast, it only gets worse. But as for the common withdrawal symptom headache, then this is not a legitimate reason to break your fast. Now, when it comes to a situation when a person has to break their fast, then the asl is that you make it up. But if a person has a terminal illness where يعني مرض لا يرجى برؤه, is a sickness that is not hope that it will come to an end, it's not likely to come to an end, that person feeds a poor person for each day. And they can do it at the beginning or at the end or on a daily basis. And some of the Sahaba used to do it the day before Eid, they would gather for every one of those days. Now, to feed a poor person for each of those days. When it comes to feeding the poor people as well, al-asl it'am al-miskin al-muslim. The foundation is to feed a poor Muslim. That is preferred. Now, look for charities that are doing those things on your behalf. Don't just go and give money to the masjid assuming that they're going to do it. Unless they tell you they offer that service. Because if they don't tell you that they offer that service, it will not be fulfilled. It will not be fulfilled. So that is important to understand. Also, sometimes people, they speak without knowledge. We've had people say that they've been told they had fast to make up from last Ramadan, that they're not allowed to make it up now in Sha'ban, it will not be accepted from them. This is kalam batil. This is not correct. Rather, you're supposed to make it up. And some of the Salaf used to delay making up the days that they owed until Sha'ban. So it's important, especially the younger generation, stop giving verdicts and talking without knowledge. And studying one book does not give you permissibility and authority to speak on matters like this. So stop doing it, stop spreading false information and causing confusion among people. And a sad reality, we've seen abundance now within the young generation. Too much people have waswas. And instead of studying the religion and learning that they have knowledge, they always just do their own self-study. Self-study, self-research, questions that the mind just throws at them. This is not how you attain knowledge, and this is not going to help a person with waswas. Rather, a person who has waswas, and I've mentioned to a number of people in our community, study the religion properly, attend classes and learn the religion. And that becomes your foundation of knowledge. Now, and as for matters that you have waswas in, don't ask about them. Of the cures of waswas is that you ignore it. Because it reaches a level where people send questions saying, I doubt whether Allah is real or not. What does that mean? a person will go so much into waswas, it will cause them to leave Islam. It will lead them to kufr. And the problem is sitting down by yourself, having too much free time, and just thinking. Not studying, not listening to knowledge, not learning knowledge, just sitting and thinking. La. If you want to be cured of this, seek help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremost. Seek aid from Allah Azza wa Jal. Make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Busy yourself with dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Busy yourself with seeking knowledge. Questions like, oh, if I don't do enough on the fatha, ignore stuff like this. If I don't have enough on my scene, ignore stuff like this. Don't ask about these things. No. And if you know someone who has waswas, then you have a duty to aid them also. When you know they're asking you questions and it's from waswas, don't answer them. Tell them to stop. Don't entertain them. Because if they don't stop, it's only going to overcome them. And you find a person is making wudu for nearly an hour, for one wudu. Or a person hasn't finished salah. And when they're trying to pray one salah, they've broken that salah and started again maybe 10 times before they actually finish one salah. Or you tell a person, for example, situations happen, we go to Mecca for Umrah, and the person is meant to only do 7 rounds of tawaf. And they tell you, I've done 17, I've done 21. I wasn't sure about the other ones if they were correct. So you put yourself in hardship. And that's why we have principles in Islam. Al-yaqeen la yazalu bil-shak. Certainty is not taken away by doubt. Naam. And even al-shak ba'da intihai al-ibadah la yultafat ilay. Doubts that come after you finish the act of worship, you ignore them. You ignore them. You prayed dhuhr an hour ago. Oh, did I pray 3 rakat or 4? You've prayed. Don't think about that. Now, so these are things that will aid a person to rid waswas bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. Of the main things is to ignore it. Don't ask about it. They'll ask and you say, don't ask, to say, but there is no but. There is no but. Okay? And this is very important to understand. Especially when it comes to, for example, someone asks me, if I lick my lips and they're wet, does that break my fast? How wet can your lips be? Literally. You lick your lip. Does anything go to your stomach? And you licking your lip is your own saliva from your tongue. Can you swallow your saliva when you're fasting? Otherwise, you have to be like this all day. And you won't be able to fast. Rather, you become sick. You may not even be able to swallow if you did that. You don't see anyone doing this. We end up being like dogs. But what's disliked to be done is gathering your saliva and then so. And this is disgusting anyway. I always hate mentioning that example because it makes me feel sick. So one shouldn't do that anyway. Okay? But it's important to know, because for example, someone asked me, say, it doesn't break the fast to lick your lip. Your lip's wet. Where is the water from? For one. And like really, and then it's like, okay, what about Vaseline? And that's when I knew this is from waswas. how many people do I feed a day if I'm unable to fast due to illness or exalt or cattle? It's one person per day. One person per a day. And as I mentioned, it can be done at the beginning of the month, it can be done at the end of the month, before Eid, or on a daily basis. Now.
I was asking a question for that.
I mean, no.
Is it every day you have to give it some poor, or you can gathering 5 days or 1 week or 10?
I said it can be done in the first day for everyone, every day, or the last day before Eid for every day, or on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So you can say for 30 days, I bring 30 people on one day, I feed 30 people. And that's for the whole of Ramadan.
If you have one family,
You can feed them the same day, every day. Each day you feed that same people.
yeah, but I'm here. If I want to send to Africa every day, I think I select some people that have nothing, and then I give this 10 days.
Yeah, it's fine. It just has to be a poor person per day.
Yes.
However you do it, a poor person per a day. However you do it, doesn't matter. As long as a poor person is fed for each day. Okay? That is the key thing.
This person is like a widow, the lady with children at home, is something that you give them for 5 days or for 10 days. Every day you can account something to give them, who give them food.
But it's a poor person. So if you're feeding a family, then count how much people is that in the family. Because it's feeding a poor person per a day. So if I what's it called, feed a family of 7, how many people, how many days have I covered? 7 days. You see? Ideally, the poor person should be Muslim.
Yeah.
But if you can't find a Muslim, then to a poor person. Because it doesn't say miskinan Musliman. It says miskinan. And wala'alla, inshallah, if you do feed a non-Muslim, then encourage them to learn about Islam and say, because of Islam I found you to aid you. وَلَهَذَا كَمْ يَكُونْ مِنْ يعني ائتلاف القلوب. It brings the hearts together. Now,
2 years or 3 years I didn't fast. I take money to give my wife in Africa to buy food and then put in some money in 5 days fasting to give one person poor. He have family, he don't have nothing to give them. I give you 5 days my fasting with the money to buy.
the money, that's sadaqah. It's not part of this. Is not part of this. So keep money separate. Money is separate. You have to feed. So feeding is feeding. So as for the money, that doesn't matter.
No. What I say, I put in food like to feed one person a day,
Yes.
and then 1 kilo or 2 kilo, and then I put in money to buy the sauces to put in this.
That's fine. But
this money is extra.
yes, so don't worry about that. I'm saying the main thing, you have to make sure one poor person is fed per a day. As for the details, it doesn't matter. As long as a poor person is fed per a day. That's it. Okay, one poor person per a day. Now.
In terms of portion.
Also, the portion is roughly it's around about £4 for us, equivalent to about £4, £5 kind of price. Now,
You didn't mention steam or smoke. That breaks the fast.
because there's difference of opinion. As for smoking, that breaks the fast, no doubt. Bukhur, some different that, but Bukhur only breaks the fast if you're going right or you're going like this. If you're inhaling the bukhur directly, the smoke like that directly, as for smelling it around, that does not break the fast at all. But as for smoking, that breaks the fast and it's haram, and the same with vaping. No.
And steam.
Steam, again, if anything's going to go to your stomach. If nothing goes to your stomach, it doesn't break the fast. If nothing goes to the stomach, it doesn't break the fast. But you're not going to go and have a sauna. You're not going to put your face on a face steam machine. None of that. Those things shouldn't be done. No. Smelling food doesn't break the fast. You can smell the food without the pot even being open, if you're a good cook. Alhamdulillah, when I cook, you can smell it through the passageway. Allah Mubarak. Any last questions? Jade. So inshallah ta'ala, tomorrow we'll talk about something else to do with the virtues of Ramadan, how the Salaf were during the month of Ramadan as an encouragement, as it may be that we are fasting from Saturday and praying from Friday night, or fasting from Sunday, praying on Saturday night, inshallah ta'ala. Allahumma ballighna Ramadan. But again, as I mentioned, just have the mindset, because An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam kana yubashiru ashabahu biqudumi hadha ash-shahr al-mubarak. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu used to give glad tidings to his companions with the coming of this blessed month. Ja'akum shahrun mubarak, shahr Ramadan. The blessed month has come to you, the blessed month of Ramadan. يعني فيه فتحت أبواب الجنة. In this month, the doors of Jannah they are opened. وغلقت أبواب النار. And the doors of Jahannam they are closed. وصفدت الشياطين. And the shayateen they have been chained away. And all of this is evidence, as I mentioned. والله يعني والله يريد أن يتوب عليكم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to forgive you. Because again, these actions that we can do in this month, you'll see a person that may be the worst of mankind outside of Ramadan. But in the month of Ramadan, they come to the masjid, they pray, they do acts that they would never normally do. And this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for some, it's an opportunity to do more than they normally do. And for some, it's to change their life in totality. They may have been living a life distant from Allah, but they come back to Allah in this month, and that is a changing pinnacle moment for them. And we ask God to be that to be the case to many. And also, we have many people in our community, whether they're involved in drug dealing or other means of making haram money. Use the month of Ramadan as a means to try and bring them closer and advise them to leave off these things. Because as we all can see, Croydon is becoming a horrible place. And the fact that we live here, we have a communal obligation to play our part in calling the people to that which is correct. Because Allah says, "Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat lin-nas ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhawna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah." Because you're the best people that have been brought forth to mankind. We are the best example, the Muslims. Why? Because you enjoin that which is good and you prohibit that which is evil, whilst you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So anytime you have opportunity to advise people, be a means of calling to good, prohibiting evil, then we should take those opportunities. And Ramadan is of the best times, especially when some of the people that are involved in these crimes that cause evil in the community are from those who are attributed to Al-Islam. Whether they practice it or not, whether they know it or not, no one cares what their individual name is, where they come from. The thing that they're going to say is that person is a Muslim. That's why we always have to remember, once you're a Muslim, you never represent yourself. You never represent yourself. You always represent Islam. And that's something that we remind each and every single one of us of, and also remind them of, inshallah ta'ala. And you don't know, maybe one word of advice you give to them, that is the moment that Allah opened their heart, they heard it from you, they made tawbah, they came back to Allah. Everything they do of goodness after that day, you will get a reward for that. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. فبارك الله فيكم اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا وحبيب محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.